The engine of our old Ford pickup hummed steadily along the winding roads of the Pacific Northwest. But inside the cab, tension crackled like static electricity. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, glancing at my dad, Mark, who stared out the window at the blurring evergreens, his jaw set in that familiar stubborn line. It was supposed to be a simple father-son trip to reconnect after years of distance. But as the sun dipped low and we pulled into the rundown motel with only one room left, and one bed, I felt a storm brewing that neither of us could outrun. We'd planned this summer getaway to escape the suffocating routine of suburban Chicago life. Dad, a 48-year-old construction foreman with calloused hands and a no-nonsense demeanor, had insisted on it after Mom's passing 2 years ago. "We need this, Alex," he'd said gruffly over breakfast one morning, his blue eyes avoiding mine. "Just you and me, like old times." At 25, fresh out of grad school and grappling with my own secrets, I agreed, hoping it might bridge the gap that had widened since I came out as gay in college. He hadn't disowned me, but the conversations turned awkward, laced with unspoken judgments. Now, here we were, miles from home, and the motel clerk's apologetic shrug sealed our fate. "Only one queen bed, folks. Take it or leave it." Dad tossed his duffel bag onto the faded carpet with a thud, rubbing the back of his neck. "Well, shit. Didn't see that coming." His voice carried that Midwestern drawl, laced with discomfort he tried to mask with humor. I forced a laugh, but my stomach twisted. Sharing a bed with my straight-as-an-arrow father? The man who'd taught me to throw a baseball? Who still called my ex-boyfriend, "that friend of yours?" Felt like stepping onto thin ice. We unpacked in silence, the room's stale air thick with the scent of old cigarettes and pine cleaner. Dinner was burgers at a nearby diner, where Dad reminisced about family camping trips from my childhood, his stories punctuated by long pauses where Mom's absence loomed large. Back in the room, the awkwardness peaked. Dad stripped down to his boxers and an old t-shirt, his broad shoulders and salt and pepper hair making him look every bit the rugged everyman. I changed in the bathroom, emerging in sweats, heart pounding. "You take the left side," he muttered, sliding under the covers. I nodded, lying rigid on my edge, the mattress dipping under our combined weight. The space between us felt like a chasm, yet inches away. Sleep evaded me. Every shift of his body sent jolts through mine. Hours ticked by, and in the dead of night, I heard him sigh deeply. "Can't sleep either, huh?" His voice was low, vulnerable in the darkness. We talked then, really talked for the first time in years. He confessed how Mom's death had shattered him, how he'd buried himself in work to avoid the grief. "I feel like I failed you, kid," he admitted, his words hanging heavy. I opened up about my struggles, the isolation of being gay in our conservative neighborhood, the failed relationships that left me questioning if I'd ever find real connection. To my surprise, he listened without interruption, his hand resting casually on the pillow between us. As dawn crept through the curtains, something shifted. The barriers we'd built began to crack, revealing raw emotions neither expected. The next morning, we hit the road early, the shared vulnerability lingering like morning fog. Dad suggested detouring to Crater Lake, his enthusiasm genuine. "Let's make this trip count," he said, clapping my shoulder. But as we drove, subtle tensions emerged. At a roadside cafe, a group of locals eyed us curiously. 2 men traveling alone, and Dad's posture stiffened. "People talk," he grumbled later, staring at the lake's crystalline blue. I sensed his unease, the societal weight pressing on him. Was it homophobia or something deeper? That night, another motel, another shared bed. This time, the conversation turned personal. "You ever think about settling down?" he asked. I hesitated, then shared about my last breakup, the pain of unrequited love. He nodded thoughtfully. "Love's complicated, no matter who it's with." Our journey wound through Oregon's forests, stopping at hidden waterfalls and quaint towns. Dad opened up about his youth, rebellious days in the 80s, dreams deferred for family. I saw glimpses of a man beyond the stoic facade, one who'd sacrificed much. Yet, conflict simmered. In Portland, we visited a pride festival by chance. Rainbow flags fluttered, and I felt alive. Dad hung back, discomfort evident. "This ain't my scene," he whispered, but stayed, watching couples hold hands. Later, in the bed we shared again. Motels were scarce, he admitted. Seeing that, "It makes me think about you. I want you happy, Alex." His words stirred something in me, a mix of gratitude and confusion. As days blurred, the bed sharing became routine, but the intimacy grew unsettling. One night, after a hike left us exhausted, Dad's arm draped over me in sleep. I froze, heart racing. Was it accidental? Morning brought no mention, but his eyes held a new softness. Society's shadows loomed, whispers from fellow travelers, Dad's old friends texting about our guys' trip. I confronted him. "Does this bother you? Us like this?" He paused. "It's just a bed, son. But yeah, it makes me question things." His honesty cracked open doors I hadn't known existed. The road twisted through the Cascade Mountains, sunlight dappling the dashboard as Dad tuned the radio to classic rock. "Remember this one?" he asked, humming along to Springsteen. I smiled, but my mind replayed the previous night's accidental touch, a spark that ignited doubts. Was I reading too much into it? Dad was straight, married to Mom for 25 years, the epitome of traditional masculinity. Yet, in these confined spaces, lines blurred, and emotions swirled like the mist rising from the valleys below. We stopped in a small town for lunch, where a waitress flirted shamelessly with Dad. He chuckled politely, but his eyes flicked to me, almost apologetic. "Still got it, huh?" I teased later, trying to lighten the mood. He shrugged. "Haven't thought about that stuff since your mom." His voice cracked slightly, revealing layers of loneliness I'd overlooked. That afternoon, we hiked to a viewpoint overlooking snow-capped peaks. Panting at the summit, Dad turned to me. "Alex, about last night. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable." I waved it off, but inside, turmoil brewed. Society drilled into us that fathers and sons don't share such proximity without judgment. Whispers of unnatural echoed in my head from childhood bullies. Back on the road, conversation deepened. Dad shared stories of his army days, the camaraderie that bordered on intimacy in barracks. "Men get close in tough times," he said thoughtfully. I probed gently. "Ever question your own feelings?" He tensed, then relaxed. "Nah, always been straight. But life's not black and white." His words hung, pregnant with implication. That night, in yet another shared bed, this time in a cozy inn near Seattle, the air felt charged. Rain pattered against the window as we lay side by side. "Tell me more about your life," he urged. I spoke of the gay bars in Chicago, the thrill and heartache of fleeting connections. He listened, then confessed, "I envy that freedom, my generation. We bottled it up." Morning brought a shift. Dad suggested extending the trip. "No rush home," he said over coffee. But conflicts escalated. In Seattle, we wandered Pike Place Market, amid bustling crowds. A same-sex couple kissed nearby, and Dad averted his eyes, muttering about public displays. Hurt flared in me. "Dad, that's who I am." He sighed. "I know, just hard to adjust." The argument simmered into evening, culminating in our room. "You act supportive, but flinch at reality," I accused. He paced. "I'm trying, Alex. This world's changing too fast for an old guy like me." Tears welled. We hugged awkwardly, the bed witnessing our reconciliation. As we drove north toward the Canadian border, Dad's demeanor softened further. He shared a secret. In his youth, a close friendship with a buddy that ended abruptly amid rumors. Never acted on it, but it scared me. My heart ached for him, seeing parallels in my own fears. Society's grip, family expectations, church doctrines had shaped us both. That night, sharing the bed felt less like necessity, more like choice. His breathing synced with mine, a silent bond forming. But doubt crept. Was this paternal love, or something taboo? Vancouver welcomed us with urban vibrancy, a stark contrast to rural motels. We explored, Dad more open to the diverse crowds. At a cafe, he asked about my ideal partner. Someone steady, like you, I joked half seriously. He blushed, a rare vulnerability. Back in the room, another queen bed, the conversation turned introspective. What if I wasn't so straight? He whispered in the dark. Shock rippled through me. Dad, he backtracked. Just hypotheticals. Grief messes with your head. But the seed was planted, stirring forbidden emotions. Tensions peaked during a ferry ride to Vancouver Island. Surrounded by families, Dad grew distant, perhaps regretting his candor. I pressed. You can't drop that and pretend nothing. He snapped. Drop what? I'm your father. The word stung, highlighting the chasm. That evening, in our shared space, silence reigned until he apologized. I'm confused, Alex. This trip. It's awakening things I buried. Tears flowed. I comforted him, our roles reversing. Society's taboos screamed in my mind. Incestuous undertones, moral outrage. But here, it was two souls connecting beyond labels. The island's rugged beauty mirrored our turmoil. Hiking trails led to cliffs overlooking the ocean, where Dad confessed more. Suppressed attractions in his past, masked by marriage and duty. Mom was my rock, but part of me wondered. I listened, empathy warring with confusion. Was he coming out? To me, the implications were explosive, family secrets, societal scorn. That night, the bed felt intimate yet fraught. His hand brushed mine accidentally or not, and I didn't pull away. Emotions surged. Love, fear, desire unspoken. Waves crashed against the rocky shore of Vancouver Island as we stood at the edge, wind whipping our jackets. Dad's confession from the night before lingered like sea salt on skin, unspoken but palpable. Let's not overthink it, he said finally, clapping my back with forced joviality. But how could I not? My straight father hinting at hidden depths, in the intimacy of shared beds. It challenged everything I knew about him, about us. We drove inland to ancient forests, towering cedars enveloping us in green hush. Conversation tiptoed around the elephant. His potential bisexuality, buried under decades of heteronormative life. Society back then. You didn't question, he mused during a picnic. I nodded, sharing my own battles with acceptance. Even now it's hard. People judge. His eyes met mine, holding a mirror to our shared pain. But joy crept in too, laughing at bad jokes, bonding over shared music. Yet undercurrents pulled. What did this mean for our relationship? Back south, crossing into Washington, conflicts intensified. Dad received a call from Aunt Karen, prying about our bonding time. He downplayed but hung up agitated. Family expects normalcy, he grumbled. I challenged. What's normal? Hiding who you are. He bristled. Easy for you to say, kid. I built a life on it. The argument escalated in our next motel, bed mocking our divide. You're a hypocrite, preaching acceptance but fearing it yourself. I shouted. He deflated. Maybe I am. This trip's forcing me to face it. Reconciliation came in whispers, lying close, emotions raw. Seattle again but transformed. Dad suggested visiting a gay-friendly bar. For you, he clarified, but curiosity flickered in his eyes. Inside, amid pulsing music, he observed, discomfort melting into tentative engagement. A man flirted with him. He laughed it off, but later confessed intrigue. Felt alive. My heart twisted. Pride mixed with jealousy? Society's lens distorted. Father exploring late in life, son as confidant. That night, bed-sharing felt electric. Thanks for pushing me, he murmured. I squeezed his hand, a gesture loaded with unspoken layers. Driving through Olympic National Park, rainforests dripped with mystery. Dad opened up about Mom. She knew, I think, never said. Grief intertwined with revelation, deepening our bond. But external pressures mounted. A campground ranger eyed us suspiciously. 2 men, 1 tent, bed equivalent in sleeping bags. Folks like you, he trailed. Dad stiffened, later ranting about intolerance. See? This is why I hid. I countered. Hiding perpetuates it. Debate raged, highlighting generational chasms. In a quaint lodge with, inevitably, one bed, vulnerability peaked. Dad admitted attraction to men in youth, suppressed for the American dream. Now, with you, it's confusing. Alarm bells rang. Was he implying us? No, son, he clarified hastily. Just reevaluating. Relief and disappointment mingled. Emotions surged, love transcending blood. But taboo loomed. Society's verdict. Unnatural. Yet, in that bed, it felt profoundly human. Heading east toward home, Montana's vast plains stretched endlessly. Dad's mood swung. Elated by freedom, then shadowed by reality. What happens when we get back? He asked. I had no answer. Stops in national parks brought moments of peace. Stargazing, sharing dreams. But a heated discussion arose over politics. Dad's conservative roots clashing with my progressive views on LGBTQ rights. You think it's easy changing? He challenged. Tears followed. We embraced, the bed a sanctuary amid storm. In a Wyoming motel, crisis hit. Dad broke down. I think I'm bi, Alex. But at my age? With a son who's gay. The confession shattered barriers, but ignited fears. Family rejection, societal backlash. I supported, but internally wrestled. My role as son versus ally. That night, proximity amplified emotions. His sobs shook the mattress. Comforting him, I felt a paternal shift, roles blurring in drama's grip. The Great Plains unfolded, home drawing near. Dad experimented subtly, complimenting a waiter's smile, admitting attractions. Growth evident but pain raw. This trip changed me, he said. I agreed, but warned, society won't. A roadside argument over coming out. To who? Our family hates that lifestyle, he yelled. Reconciliation in bed, whispers of solidarity. As Chicago's skyline loomed, reflections poured. Dad, sharing that bed, it forced closeness I needed. Me too, but unspoken. The controversy of our intimacy, blurring lines in ways that could scandalize. Emotions crested, love, confusion, hope. The Chicago skyline pierced the horizon like a promise and a threat. Our Ford rumbling homeward after weeks of revelation. Dad gripped the wheel, his knuckles white, as if steering through more than traffic. What now? I asked, voicing the dread knotting my gut. The shared beds, confessions. They'd forged something unbreakable, yet fragile under society's glare. We stopped in a final motel on the outskirts. One last queen bed mocking our journey's end. Unpacking felt final. Dad paced. I can't just go back to pretending. His voice trembled. I sat on the edge, heart heavy. Then don't. Come out, Dad. I'll be there. But fear flashed in his eyes, losing friends, family ostracism. At 48, they'll call it a midlife crisis. Or worse. The worse hung. Implications of our closeness. Whispers of impropriety. Society loved scandals, especially taboo ones involving family. That night, lying inches apart, emotions overflowed. Dad turned to me. You've been my rock, Alex. More than a son. His words stirred forbidden warmth. I pushed it down. We're family, I reminded, but the line felt thin. Sleep came fitfully, dreams haunted by judgments. Morning brought resolve. Dad decided to test waters with a trusted friend. Small steps, he said over breakfast. Pride swelled in me, but anxiety too. What if backlash targeted us both? Arriving home, the suburban house felt alien. Unloading bags, neighbors waved curiously. Inside, echoes of mom amplified changes. Dad hesitated at family photos. She'd want me happy. I nodded, but conflict brewed. Aunt Karen called, inviting us to dinner. Tell her, Dad asked. I encouraged, but he balked. Not yet. Frustration mounted. His progress halting at reality's door. Days blurred into routine, but undercurrents surged. Dad joined an online support group for late bloomers. sharing anonymously. "Feels good," he confided, but secrecy strained us. At a family barbecue, cousins joked about bachelor life. Dad forced laughs, eyes meeting mine in silent plea. Later, alone, he vented, "They'd never understand." I argued, "Hiding erodes you." Tension peaked. "You push too hard," he snapped. Hurt, I retreated, our bond fraying under pressure. A turning point came midweek. Dad attended a local LGBTQ meetup, returning energized. Met guys like me, divorced, discovering late. Jealousy flickered irrationally. Was I losing him to this new world? That evening, over dinner, he admitted dating thoughts. "A man?" I asked, voice steady. He nodded shyly. "Support ward with complexity. My father, gay or bi, navigating romance." Society's double standards loomed, acceptance for youth, ridicule for elders. Conflicts escalated at work. Dad's crew whispered about his vacation glow. Homophobic jabs surfaced. "Tough it out," I advised, but he cracked one night. "Why now? After a life of lies." Tears flowed. I held him, paternal roles inverted. Emotions deepened. Love transcending norms, but stirring controversy. What would therapists say? Society? He went on a date, a coffee meet with Tom, a teacher. Returning, eyes alight. "Nice guy." Envy twisted me. Childish but real. "Happy for you," I said genuinely. But family dinner loomed. Aunt Karen probed. "Any ladies?" Dad deflected. But post-dinner, confessed to me. I wanted to say, progress slow but sure. Drama crested when Tom visited. Polite, but neighbors gossiped. Dad shrugged it off, but inside turmoil. "This affects you too," he worried. I reassured. "We're in this together." Yet, internal strife. My own loneliness amplified, questioning if our trip sparked more than paternal awakening. A blow-up came via phone. Grandpa, conservative patriarch, heard rumors. "What's this nonsense?" he bellowed. Dad defended shakily. "It's who I am." Dissonant threats followed. Family fractured. I stood by him, but pain ripped through. "Worth it?" he asked tearfully. "Yes," I affirmed, our shared history stealing us. Healing began in quiet moments. Dad explored identity, joining pride events. Society's pushback. Lost friends, judgmental stares. Tested, but strengthened resolve. For me, growth too. Accepting his journey, reflecting on mine. Emotions peaked in a heartfelt talk. That summer bed, it saved me. Tears mingled. Bond unbreakable. As months passed, Dad and Tom grew serious, navigating challenges. Family mended unevenly. Some accepted, others distanced. Controversy lingered. Late life coming out, familial intimacy questioned. But love prevailed. Fall leaves crunched underfoot as Dad and I walked the neighborhood park, Tom joining occasionally now. The summer trip felt distant, yet its ripples shaped our lives. "Never thought I'd be here," Dad mused, hand brushing mine platonically. Society still judged. Whispers at Thanksgiving, where Aunt Karen tiptoed around Tom's presence, but resilience grew. Emotions, once buried, flowed freely. Conflicts persisted. Dad's ex-colleagues shunned him, forcing a job change. "Worth the freedom," he declared. I admired his courage, but grappled with my role. Son, confidant, almost catalyst. Therapy helped unpack. "Boundaries matter," the counselor said. Yet, our closeness, forged in those beds, remained a cornerstone, controversial to outsiders. A pivotal moment. Dad proposed to Tom at a quiet dinner. "Yes," Tom beamed. Family reactions varied. Grandpa boycotted the wedding plans. Cousins supported. Drama unfolded in heated calls. "Unnatural at your age," Grandpa accused. Dad stood firm. "Love's love." I mediated, emotions churning. Joy for him, sorrow for fractures. The wedding, small and intimate in a Chicago garden, symbolized triumph. Vows exchanged amid tears. I stood as best man, heart full. Society's gaze lingered. Media snippets on late bloomers. but we ignored. Honeymoon planned, echoing our trip. No shared beds this time, Dad joked, winking. Post-wedding, reflections deepened. Dad's journey inspired me to pursue my own stalled romance. A colleague, Ryan. Go for it, Dad urged. Dating blossomed, mirroring his path. But echoes of controversy. Friends questioned our family's dynamics. Ignore them, Dad advised. Emotions surged. Gratitude, love, lingering confusion from that summer. One evening, over coffee, Dad confessed, "That trip, I felt things for you, paternal but intense. Scared me. Shock hit." I nodded. "Me too. But it's love, not." He agreed. Family redefined. Society might decry, but we knew truth. Years on, our bond evolved. Dad and Tom thrived, advocating for LGBTQ elders. I married Ryan, family mending. Conflicts faded, replaced by acceptance. Yet, the summer's legacy. A bed shared, secrets unveiled, lives transformed. In the end, was it right for a father and son to blur those lines, even innocently, in pursuit of truth?